cursed mannequin was hiding the missing remains of murder victims for decades. The film begins in the 1950s at a photography studio run by a well-known photographer named Jack Bernard. Despite his reputation as a talented artist, Jack is known for being extremely perfectionistic and obsessively determined to create what he considers the perfect photograph. Even when his photos already look beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, he refuses to be satisfied if there is even the slightest detail that does not match his vision. One day, Jack is conducting a photo shoot with a beautiful female model in his studio. In an effort to achieve the perfect image, he asks the model to wear a corset so her figure will appear slimmer and more proportionate. However, something horrifying suddenly happens during the session. While the model is distracted, Jack unexpectedly attacks her with an axe, decapitating her in the process.
Mr. Bernard? Jack!
After committing the gruesome murder, he takes the victim's head and attaches it to a mannequin. Through this horrifying method, Jack finally creates the photograph he has always wanted. It turns out that Jack admired the model's face but disliked her body. Because of that, he keeps only her head and combines it with the mannequin to fulfill his twisted obsession. The story then shifts to the present day, where we are introduced to two sisters named Sophia and Liana. Both of them work as wedding dress designers and dream of expanding their business to a larger scale. To make that dream a reality, they decide to rent a property that will serve as both their studio and business space.
What about all this furniture?
Everything comes with the unit, so then this is the perfect location for you.
I can't believe that nobody has snatched this place up.
During their search, they come across a building that is already fully functional and, coincidentally, once operated as a photography studio. Not only is the building still in good condition, but the rental price is also affordable for two entrepreneurs who are just starting out. Feeling that the location perfectly suits their needs, Sophia and Liana immediately accept the offer and receive the keys from the building owner.
Here you go, your keys. Ping me anytime for anything.
After officially renting the property, they begin planning the layout of the studio and preparing everything needed for the move scheduled for the following day. Later that evening, Liana attends the engagement party of her close friend Nadine. She arrives with her boyfriend Peter. Peter is a content creator who frequently discusses horror stories, mysteries, and various conspiracy theories.
Thank everyone so much for coming. Cheers.
His work often embarrasses Liana because she feels that he spends too much time talking about things that are not important. Her frustration reaches its peak when Peter starts enthusiastically telling horror stories to the guests at Nadine's engagement party. Even though most of the guests seem uninterested in what he has to say, Peter continues sharing his stories with great enthusiasm. His behavior makes Liana feel extremely uncomfortable and embarrassed in front of everyone. At the party, we are also introduced to Hazel, another close friend of theirs. Both Nadine and Hazel try to calm Liana down and encourage her to be more patient with Peter's personality.
Bam! Her eyes just boom.
This is insane, right? I'm just gonna quit.
However, after giving it serious thought, Liana finally decides to end her relationship with Peter that very night. The following day, the move into their new studio begins with the help of Nadine and Hazel. After seeing the building for themselves, they all agree that it is the perfect place for both a photography studio and a business. However, their attention is soon drawn to a nude mannequin that is still standing inside the building. Sophia explains that the mannequin was already there when they rented the place and that she intentionally left it untouched because she thinks it fits nicely as part of the studio's decor.
Is our grandma's?
She even gives the mannequin a name, Alice. Although it seems a little strange, Sophia already appears to consider the mannequin a part of her new studio. Later that evening, Liana, Nadine, and Hazel head home, while Sophia decides to stay behind to finish some of the preparations that are not yet complete. She is visibly excited as she organizes the studio, because it represents a dream she has always wanted to achieve together with her younger sister. However, while she is busy working, Sophia begins hearing the sound of footsteps coming from the staircase. At first, she pays little attention to it and assumes it is simply one of the many noises an old building might make. But as time passes, the footsteps become louder and seem to be getting closer. When Sophia turns toward the staircase to investigate, she is horrified to see the ghostly figure of a legless woman crawling up the stairs. The appearance of the terrifying entity marks the beginning of a tragedy, as Sophia unknowingly falls under the influence of the evil force haunting the building. The following morning, Liana receives a worried phone call from Hazel. Hazel explains that she was supposed to attend a yoga class with Sophia, but Sophia has been unreachable all morning. Hazel even stopped by the studio to check on her, but the building was locked and there was no sign of Sophia anywhere. Although she does not want to assume the worst, Hazel asks Liana to go to the studio and make sure everything is all right. Upon arriving, Liana immediately gets a bad feeling when she finds Sophia's phone lying on the floor. Her worst fears are soon confirmed. Moments later, Liana lets out a terrified scream after discovering Sophia's lifeless body covered in blood. The tragic incident is eventually ruled a suicide by the authorities, although not everyone fully believes that conclusion. Sophia's death becomes a devastating blow for Liana, Nadine, and Hazel. A full year passes after the tragedy. The studio that once represented Sophia's dream is eventually abandoned and left to deteriorate. Over time, the friendship between Liana, Nadine, and Hazel gradually fades, and they stop spending time together like they used to. During that period, Liana moves to Milan to heal from her loss, while also pursuing the design education she had always dreamed of. After spending a year rebuilding her life and coping with the death of her sister, Liana finally decides to return to her hometown. She feels that it is time to continue the dream she and Sophia once shared. For that reason, she meets with the building owner and renews the studio lease that had been left unfinished after Sophia's death. Upon returning to the property, Liana notices that the mannequin Sophia named Alice is still standing exactly where it used to be. Although the building owner offers to remove it if she finds it unsettling, Liana chooses to leave it there. Not long after moving back into the studio, Liana receives a voice message from her ex-boyfriend, Peter. In the message, Peter apologizes for his behavior in the past and admits that he has changed a lot since they broke up. He also expresses his hope of seeing Liana again if she is willing to give him another chance. Although Liana does not give him a definite answer, she does not reject the idea either, suggesting that there may still be a possibility for their relationship to be repaired in the future. After surviving 2 horrifying incidents in a row, both Hazel and Nadine finally accept that something truly evil is haunting them, and that the terror extends far beyond the studio where Sophia died. After everything they have been through, Liana finally thinks of Peter, her ex-boyfriend whom she once considered strange because of his obsession with horror stories and supernatural phenomena. However, under the current circumstances, Peter seems to be the only person who might be able to help them find answers. Liana contacts him and tells him everything that has happened since they first moved into the studio. After hearing the entire story, Peter immediately becomes interested because he is already familiar with the building's dark history. In fact, the building has appeared several times in the horror-related content he has created over the years. Peter explains that the building was originally constructed in 1923 and was first used as a mannequin factory. However, its dark history did not begin until the 1950s when the Bernard family took ownership of the property. The family's son, Jack Bernard, later converted it into a photography studio. Behind his reputation as a talented photographer, Jack hid a terrifying secret. His first known victim was a beautiful model named Ruth, who mysteriously disappeared after participating in a photo shoot with him. Sometime later, Ruth's body was discovered in a dumpster with her head missing. Years later, similar tragedies continued to occur. In 1964, a model named Mindy vanished and was eventually found dead, with both of her legs missing. Then, in 1972, another victim named Carol was discovered dead, with both of her hands severed. All evidence pointed toward Jack Bernard, making him the primary suspect in a series of gruesome murders. Strangely, however, Jack was never convicted because the police failed to recover the missing body parts of the victims. Due to the lack of evidence, the cases remained unsolved. Over the years, numerous disturbing rumors began circulating throughout the community. One of the most popular theories claimed that the missing body parts had been hidden somewhere inside the building. Others believed that Jack was a member of a sinister cult and that the murders were part of a ritual he was required to perform. To this day, no one truly knows what motivated his horrific actions. What is known is that in 1999, Jack Bernard was reportedly found dead after taking his own life inside the same building, leaving behind countless unanswered questions. After learning the fate of all 3 victims, Liana begins to realize that the apparitions they have been seeing may actually be the restless spirits of Jack Bernard's victims. The legless woman is believed to be Mindy, while the woman with no hands is believed to be Carol. Meanwhile, the mysterious male figure Hazel encountered is most likely the spirit of Jack Bernard himself, who is believed to still haunt the building long after his death in 1999. Based on everything they have uncovered, Peter becomes convinced that the terror surrounding Sophia, Hazel, Nadine, and Liana is directly connected to Jack Bernard's lingering spirit. In his opinion, the evil entity is now targeting them one by one. Because of that, if they want to put an end to the nightmare, they must return to the studio and uncover the true source of the curse. Despite the obvious danger, they ultimately agree to go back to the building with Peter and confront whatever is waiting for them there. When they arrive at the studio, they immediately notice that the mannequin that had been standing inside the building all this time has somehow been torn apart into several pieces. Sensing that something is seriously wrong, Peter begins investigating the area using his paranormal detection equipment.
Go in the back room. You are not welcome here.
Before long, the device starts reacting abnormally, confirming the presence of supernatural activity. The atmosphere inside the building quickly becomes more oppressive and unsettling, until the ghostly woman without legs and the woman without hands once again appear before them. Realizing that they are dealing with something extremely dangerous, Peter quickly creates a protective circle using salt and instructs Liana, Hazel, and Nadine to remain inside it at all times. He warns them not to step outside the circle no matter what happens. Once everything is prepared, Peter begins performing a ritual designed to lure the spirits inhabiting the building into revealing themselves.
Contra spiritalia nequitie and canos in proelio adversus principes. Glorious isme celestis. Who are you? Who are you?
As he continuously recites prayers, he attempts to push back against the evil force that has been tormenting them. After completing the ritual, Peter grabs an axe and smashes the mannequin apart. At that moment, a horrifying secret that had remained hidden for decades is finally revealed. Inside the mannequin are the missing body parts of Jack Bernard's victims, the same remains that the police were never able to find.
What? There's fucking...
The discovery proves that the rumors surrounding the building had been true all along. However, before they can fully process what they have uncovered, the situation suddenly spirals out of control. Terrified by everything she has witnessed, Nadine insists on leaving immediately. Peter tries to stop her, believing that the ritual is not yet complete. Amid the chaos, something far worse begins to happen. Without anyone noticing, Liana starts falling under the influence of the evil force inside the building. In a possessed state, she suddenly launches a violent attack on Peter and nearly kills him. With the situation rapidly falling apart and having no idea what else to do, Hazel instinctively grabs a straight pin that happens to be nearby and stabs Liana with it. To everyone's surprise, the desperate act actually works. The moment the pin pierces her skin, Liana experiences a vision of Sophia that somehow brings her back to her senses. Slowly, the evil presence controlling her begins to fade, and Liana finally regains control of herself. Realizing that staying inside the studio is no longer safe, Liana, Hazel, and Nadine help the injured Peter escape from the building. Although they managed to get out alive, they eventually realized that none of the horrors they experienced were mere coincidences. It becomes clear that the building owner had known about the property's dark history from the very beginning. Throughout the entire ordeal, he appears to have been watching everything that happened to Liana and her friends without ever attempting to intervene. While the film never explicitly reveals his true motives, there's a strong implication that he is obsessed with Jack Bernard, deliberately lures new tenants into the building. Whether he is trying to continue Jack Bernard's horrific legacy or pursuing some other hidden agenda remains unknown. What is certain is that he understands the danger of the building and knows that anyone who lives there could become the next victim. This suspicion becomes even stronger during the film's final moments when the building owner is seen offering the property to another prospective tenant. Instead of warning the woman about the countless tragedies connected to the building, he allows her to rent it without any knowledge of the horrors waiting inside. The ending strongly suggests that the nightmare is far from over. Sophia, Liana, Hazel, and Nadine were not the last victims, and the building owner appears determined to keep the cycle of terror alive as more unsuspecting victims continue to arrive. And with that, the story comes to an end.